Hello, dear friends. Today's story is not about love that begins with passion. It is about love that grows slowly, through patience, respect, and quiet sacrifice. In a small town called Red Willow Creek, two people were joined in marriage without promises of romance, no grand confessions, no dramatic vows, just two hearts learning how to walk beside each other. What began as duty slowly became devotion. What began as silence turned into strength. This is the story of a woman who learned to love deeply, and a man who taught her how to stand tall, even after he was gone. Now, let us return to Red Willow Creek, to where love first learned how to grow in silence. Red Willow Creek was a quiet town, shaped by long winters and honest labor. Life here moved slowly, guided more by tradition than desire. People did not rush into love. They believed feelings were unreliable, but responsibility endured. Marriages were built on trust, family ties, and the hope that affection might come later, if given time. That was how Elias Greyhawk, a respected native man known for his calm strength, came to marry Anna Whitmore, the only daughter of a hard-working settler family. Their union was not born from longing glances or secret promises. It was arranged through careful conversations and mutual understanding between families who trusted one another. Both sides believed companionship could grow into something deeper if patience was allowed to lead. On the morning of the wedding, the sky stretched wide and pale above them. Anna stood beside Elias, her fingers clutching her shawl, as the cool air brushed her skin. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear of the man beside her, but from the uncertainty of the life ahead. Elias noticed, yet he did not reach for her hand. He did not close the distance between them. Instead, he stood steady, offering her something unexpected: space. "You don't have to be afraid," he said quietly, his voice calm but sincere. "I won't ever force anything you're not ready to give." Anna turned to look at him. His eyes held no impatience, no expectation, only respect. "I don't know how to be a wife," she admitted, her voice barely steady. Elias nodded once thoughtfully. "Then we will learn," he said. Slowly, together. Their home was small, clean, and modest, nothing extravagant, nothing lacking. The first nights passed in silence, not the uncomfortable kind, but the cautious silence of two people learning how to share space without intrusion. Elias slept near the door, Anna near the window. They spoke politely, like strangers bound by circumstance rather than affection. Each morning, Anna rose before dawn. She prepared meals carefully and waited for Elias to return from work, making sure his food was warm. Elias never questioned her efforts, never demanded more. He thanked her every time. One evening, as rain tapped gently against the roof, Anna finally gathered the courage to ask the question that had been weighing on her heart. "Do you regret this marriage?" she asked, her voice soft, almost afraid of the answer. Elias set down his cup and thought carefully before speaking. "No," he said honestly, "but I don't expect love to arrive loudly." He met her eyes. "If it comes, it will come quietly." His words surprised her, not because they were romantic, but because they were real. There was no false promise, no cold distance either, just truth. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Their life settled into a gentle rhythm: work, meals, shared evenings. Sometimes Anna caught herself watching Elias as he repaired tools or tended the horses. There was steadiness in his movements and kindness in the way he always asked if she needed anything. Yet at night, when the fire burned low and silence returned, her heart felt heavy. One evening, sitting alone by the hearth, Anna whispered to herself, her voice barely louder than the crackling flames, Can love grow from kindness alone? Or am I asking for too much? Behind her, unseen, Elias stood still. He heard every word, and for the first time, something unfamiliar stirred within him, something fragile, uncertain, and quietly dangerous. Not duty, not respect, but the beginning of something more. That night, as Anna lay awake staring at the ceiling, a truth settled deep in her chest, one she was afraid to name. She was beginning to fall in love, and she did not know if her husband ever would. Love did not announce itself in Anna and Elias's home. It arrived quietly, through routine, through waiting, through the unspoken language of care. Each morning followed the same pattern. Elias left before sunrise, his footsteps steady, his presence brief but grounding. Anna watched him from the doorway, wrapping her shawl tighter against the cold, listening until the sound of his steps faded into the distance. She spent her days tending the house, mending clothes, preparing meals, not because Elias demanded it, he never did, but because it gave her purpose. Waiting for him to return became part of her rhythm, a quiet promise she kept to herself. When he came home, she always noticed first the way his shoulders sagged with exhaustion, the dust on his boots, the silence he carried when the day had been heavy. "Your meal is ready," she would say gently. And every time, without fail, Elias would pause, meet her eyes, and answer, "Thank you, Anna." At first, the words startled her. Gratitude was not something she expected. Over time, she began to realize he meant it. Evenings were simple. They ate together, sometimes in silence, sometimes exchanging small observations about the day. Elias never interrupted when Anna spoke. When she hesitated, he waited. One night she apologized unnecessarily for the bread being too dry. "It's fine," he said, then corrected himself. "No, more than fine. You worked hard today." She looked at him, unsure how to respond. Praise felt unfamiliar, almost undeserved. As weeks passed, Elias began to notice things he hadn't before. How Anna always waited for him before eating. How she checked the door when the wind grew strong. How she folded his coat carefully, as if it carried weight beyond cloth. "You don't need to worry so much," he said one evening. She smiled faintly. "I want to." Something shifted then, small, but unmistakable. Their conversations grew longer. The silences between them softened. Sometimes they sat together without speaking at all, listening to the fire crackle, sharing warmth without touching. One evening, as they walked back from the market, Elias slowed his steps so Anna wouldn't have to rush. "You're always watching out for me," he said quietly. She looked down. "That's what a wife does." He stopped walking. "That's what someone who cares does," he replied. Her heart tightened. That night, lying awake beside the window, Anna stared into the darkness. Elias's steady breathing filled the room, comforting and dangerous all at once. She realized something then, something she had been avoiding. Her concern for him had grown heavier. Her waiting had grown meaningful. Her heart no longer felt calm. She pressed her hand against her chest, whispering into the silence, "This isn't just respect anymore." The truth frightened her, because love, once born, demanded courage, and courage required the risk of being unseen. Behind her, Elias lay awake too. He had begun to feel it as well. The pull, the quiet attachment, the warmth that lingered long after Anna left the room. He didn't name it yet. Naming it felt dangerous. But as he listened to her breathing, a thought settled deep within him. This house would be empty without her. That night, Anna admitted what her heart already knew. She had fallen in love in silence, and she had no idea whether Elias was standing on the same ground or an entirely different one. The cry came just before dawn. Sharp, small, alive. Anna gripped the edge of the bed as the sound filled the room, tears streaming down her face, not from pain, but from relief. When the midwife finally placed the baby in her arms, Anna felt her whole body soften. "A girl," the woman said gently. Before doubt could take shape, Elias stepped forward. He took the child carefully, as if holding something sacred. His large hands looked almost unsure around her tiny form. The baby quieted instantly, her fingers curling around his. A smile spread across his face, slow, genuine, unguarded. "She's perfect," he said, his voice thick. "Look at her, Anna." Anna watched him, heart swelling. "Do you wish she were a boy?" she asked quietly, afraid of the answer, even though she trusted him. Elias looked at her in surprise. "Why would I?" The question lingered longer than it should have. Outside their home, Red Willow Creek was already forming its opinions. "A daughter first," women whispered at the well. "No son yet," men murmured after work. "Let's hope the next one is different." Anna heard the words, even when they weren't spoken directly to her. They settled in her chest, like small stones, heavy and sharp. One evening, after a neighbor's careless remark, Anna finally broke. "What if they're right?" she asked Elias, her voice trembling as she rocked the baby. "What if I've disappointed you?" Elias stopped what he was doing and crossed the room. He knelt in front of her, bringing himself to her level. "Look at me," he said firmly. Anna met his eyes. "You gave me life," he continued. "You gave me her. Anyone who tells you that isn't enough has no place in this house." Tears spilled down Anna's face. "People talk." "Let them," Elias replied without hesitation. "They don't live our life." The next time someone questioned him openly, he didn't stay silent. "She gave you a daughter," a man said casually in town. "Not what you hoped for, I imagine." Elias's voice was calm, but unyielding. "I hoped for a child," he said, "and I received a blessing." The town fell quiet. At home, something changed between Anna and Elias. The way he watched her with the baby. The way he rested his hand on her shoulder without thinking. The way his voice softened when he spoke her name. Late one night, as Anna laid their daughter down to sleep, Elias spoke quietly from the doorway. "You're a good mother." The word struck her harder than praise ever had. "I'm just trying," she replied. "That's what makes you good," he said. Anna sat beside the cradle long after Elias had gone to bed, watching her daughter breathe. Fear still lived in her. Fear of the town, of expectations, of failing the peace they had built. But another feeling lived there too now. Love. Not just for her child, for the man who stood between her and the world, without being asked. As Anna blew out the lamp that night, one thought would not leave her. If the world could question something so pure, how long would their quiet happiness survive? And would love be strong enough to protect it? The second birth came with rain. Heavy, cleansing rain that washed the dust from Red Willow Creek and softened the ground beneath their home. Anna labored quietly, gripping the blanket, her breath steady despite the pain. Elias stayed close, closer than before, his hand never leaving hers. When the cry finally came, louder and stronger than the first, the midwife smiled. "A boy," she announced. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Elias laughed. Not a restrained smile, not a quiet nod. He laughed openly, the sound full and unguarded, like a man whose heart could no longer contain its joy. He took the baby into his arms, lifting him carefully, reverently. "My son," he whispered, eyes shining. "And my daughter," he added, turning to the cradle nearby. "Both of you?" Anna watched him, emotion tightening her chest. She had expected happiness. She had not expected this. The way he moved between the children, the way his pride was the same for both, the way his eyes kept finding hers, as if to say, "We did this together." Later that night, when the house had grown quiet again, Anna finally voiced the thought she had been carrying. "The town will stop talking now," she said softly. Elias looked at her. "About what?" "About me," she replied. "About what I gave you." He frowned slightly. "They were never right to speak in the first place." "But it matters," she said, her voice low. "People treat women differently when they think we've proven something." Elias set the baby down gently and took her hands. "You never needed to prove anything," he said. "Not with a daughter, not with a son." Anna searched his face, needing the truth. "Do you mean that?" He answered without hesitation. "I meant it the first time." Something settled inside her then, something solid and lasting. The days that followed were filled with warmth. Elias carried the children proudly through town, greeting neighbors without apology. Anna walked beside him, no longer lowering her eyes. People noticed. "They're different," someone said quietly. "He treats her like an equal," another observed. "That's a good family," the elders agreed. At home, their bond deepened. Elias spoke more freely now, about his thoughts, his worries, his hopes. Anna listened, then shared her own, without fear of dismissal. Decisions were made together. Laughter came more easily. One evening, as they watched the children sleep, Anna leaned against him. "I feel safe," she said, surprised by her own honesty. Elias rested his hand over hers. "That's how it should be." Life felt full, complete, almost charmed. Anna caught herself smiling at ordinary moments, the sound of Elias's footsteps, the way the firelight warmed the walls, the quiet rhythm of their shared days. And yet, late at night, when the children slept and Elias breathed evenly beside her, a strange thought sometimes crossed her mind. This is too perfect, not in fear, not in doubt, but in the way happiness sometimes whispers a warning before it leaves. As Anna watched her family sleeping, peace wrapped tightly around her heart. She did not know that life was already preparing to ask for everything she loved. And that perfection, once reached, is often where fate begins to test us. It began with small things. Elias came home later than usual, his steps slower, his shoulders heavier. He brushed it off with a tired smile. "Just a long day," he said. Anna believed him, because she wanted to. But days turned into weeks, and the tiredness did not leave. His appetite faded. His laughter softened. Sometimes, when he thought she wasn't looking, his hand pressed against his side, as if holding something in place. One evening, as he tried to lift their son and faltered, Anna felt fear rise sharply in her chest. "That's not normal," she said, her voice tight. Elias avoided her eyes. "I'm fine." "No," she insisted, stepping closer. "You're not." The journey to the hospital outside Red Willow Creek felt endless. Anna held his hand the entire way, her thumb tracing slow circles over his skin, as if that alone could protect him. The doctor's voice was careful, too careful. "I'm sorry," he said. "It's cancer, advanced." The words landed without sound, but with force. Anna felt her knees weaken. "How much time?" she asked, barely recognizing her own voice. The doctor hesitated. "Not long." The room seemed to tilt. Anna turned to Elias, expecting fear, panic, something. But Elias was calm. He reached for her hand, squeezing gently. "It's all right," he said softly. "No," she cried, tears breaking free. "It's not. We still have so much life." The children, I know, he said, pulling her into his arms despite his weakness. Listen to me. She shook her head, sobbing. I can't do this without you. He held her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. You can, he said firmly. And you will. Back home. The house changed. Silence returned. But this time it was heavy, frightened. Anna watched Elias closely, memorizing everything. The way he spoke, the way he smiled, the way he reached for her in the night, as if anchoring himself to life. One evening she whispered, Why are you so calm? Elias smiled faintly. Because loving you taught me how to live. Now, it's teaching me how to leave. Her heart shattered. I don't want to be brave, she said. I just want you. I know, he replied gently. But courage isn't choosing what we want. It's facing what we must. As the days passed, Elias began teaching her things, quietly, deliberately. Know the accounts, he told her. Trust your judgment. Never doubt your worth. Why are you telling me this? She asked one night, fear thick in her voice. Because, he said softly, one day you'll have to stand alone, and I won't let you fall. Anna held him that night, crying into his shoulder, realizing the truth she had been avoiding. This wasn't just sickness. This was goodbye. As Elias slept, Anna sat awake beside him, holding his hand as if letting go might erase him forever. For the first time since their marriage, she felt something stronger than love. Fear of a world without him. The nights grew quieter, as Elias grew weaker. Anna learned the sound of his breathing, the way she once learned the rhythm of his footsteps. She woke at the slightest change, her hand always finding his in the dark, as if touch alone could keep him anchored to the world. One evening, when the children were asleep and the house was wrapped in candlelight, Elias spoke. Sit with me, he said. Anna obeyed, lowering herself beside him, fear tightening her chest. He looked thinner now, but his eyes were clear, steadied in a way that frightened her more than tears would have. There are things you need to know, he said gently. She shook her head. You're still here. We have time. Elias smiled sadly. Time is not something I have anymore. But you do. He took her hand and placed it over his heart. Listen to me, Anna. When I'm gone, the world will test you. People will tell you what you can't do. Don't believe them. Tears streamed down her face. I don't want this strength. I want you. I know, he said softly. But loving someone doesn't mean keeping them forever. Sometimes it means carrying them forward. Over the following days, he taught her everything, slowly, patiently, like a man preparing someone he trusted completely. This is how you manage the accounts, he said, guiding her through papers. Speak clearly when you decide, he told her, and never apologize for existing. One night, she finally broke. I'm scared, she whispered. What if I fail our children? Elias cupped her face, his touch warm despite his weakness. You won't, he said with quiet certainty, because you love them. And because you learned to stand long, before I ever got sick. Her voice shook. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't a feeling, he replied. It's a choice you make every morning. On his final night, the air felt different, still, heavy, sacred. Elias asked to see the children. Anna brought them in, her heart breaking as she watched him kiss their foreheads, whispering words meant only for them. When they were asleep again, Elias turned to her. Promise me something, he said. Anything, she sobbed. Live, he said simply. Not just survive. Live well. She pressed her forehead to his. I don't know how to let you go. He smiled faintly. You don't have to. I'll be with you, in every lesson, every brave step. As dawn approached, Elias's breathing slowed. Anna held him, whispering his name, telling him she loved him over and over, until the words became prayer. When he was gone, the world did not end, but Anna's did. As morning light crept into the room, Anna sat frozen, holding the man she loved, realizing the truth she had feared most. She was now alone, with 2 children, a broken heart, and the strength he had left behind. For the first month after Elias's death, Anna did not live. She existed. The house felt hollow, as if every wall echoed his absence. His boots still rested near the door. His coat still hung where he had left it. Sometimes Anna caught herself turning, ready to tell him something small and ordinary, only to remember there was no one to answer. The children grieved in fragments. Their daughter grew quiet, watching her mother with eyes far too old for her age. Their son asked questions that had no gentle answers. When will Papa come back? Did he leave because we were bad? Anna held them close, swallowing her own pain so they would not drown in it. He loved you, she whispered again and again. And he still does. At night, when the children finally slept, Anna allowed herself to fall apart. She cried into the pillow, pressing her hand against the empty spaces beside her, whispering Elias's name like a promise she could not keep. One evening, standing alone in the kitchen, she said aloud through tears, "I don't know how to be strong without you." The memory of his voice answered softly in her mind. Strength is a choice you make every morning. A month passed. On the 31st day, Anna stood before the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were tired, her face thinner. But beneath the grief, something else remained, steady, unbroken. She thought of her children, and she made a decision. The town schoolhouse needed a teacher. When Anna walked in to ask about the position, the room grew quiet. Some looked at her with pity, others with doubt. "You've been through a lot," one man said gently. "Are you sure you're ready?" Anna lifted her chin. "I don't have the luxury of not being ready." They gave her a chance. The first day was terrifying. Her hands shook as she wrote on the board. The children stared, uncertain. Anna took a breath and remembered Elias's words. "Speak clearly when you decide." "You are safe here," she told the class. "And you matter." The words steadied her. Days turned into months. Teaching gave her purpose. Routine gave her structure. Slowly, grief loosened its grip, not because it left, but because it learned to share space with responsibility. Anna worked hard. She studied at night. She prepared lessons carefully. She raised her children with patience and firmness, teaching them the values Elias had lived by. The town began to notice. She didn't fall apart, people said. She carried her loss with dignity. Respect replaced pity. Years passed. Anna grew older. Her children grew taller, stronger, kinder. The house filled with laughter again. Not the same as before, but real. One evening, as she watched her children studying by the fire, Anna whispered quietly, "You were right. I'm still standing." Outside, Red Willow Creek carried on, changed by a woman who refused to let grief define her ending. As time moved forward and her children stepped into their own futures, Anna understood something deeply true. Her life was no longer just a love story. It was becoming a legacy. Time did what grief never could. It carried Anna forward. Years passed in Red Willow Creek, marked by changing seasons and quiet milestones. Anna's hair silvered, her steps slowed, but her presence only grew stronger. She was no longer seen through the lens of loss. She was known for steadiness, for wisdom, for a life shaped by courage. Her children became the proof of everything Elias had believed. Their daughter grew into a woman with a clear voice and a gentle heart. She stood confidently, unafraid to speak, unafraid to lead. Their son carried his father's calm strength, measured, thoughtful, dependable. When people spoke of them, they spoke with respect. They were raised well, the town would say. Anna would smile quietly, knowing the truth was deeper than praise. One autumn evening, the town gathered in the small square. It wasn't a grand ceremony. Red Willow Creek had never been that kind of place. But it was sincere. The schoolhouse bell rang once, and people stood together, waiting. An elder stepped forward. "We are here to honor a woman who showed us what strength looks like," he said. "Not loud, not proud, but unbreakable." Anna felt her children's hands find hers. She lost much, the elder continued, yet she never asked the world for mercy. She gave it dignity. Applause rose, soft at first, then steady. Anna bowed her head, overwhelmed. Later, as the crowd thinned and the sky deepened into evening, her daughter turned to her. "People see you as strong," she said. "Do you feel that way?" Anna thought of the nights she cried alone, the mornings she stood anyway, the lessons Elias had given her when she was most afraid. "I didn't become strong by myself," she said gently. "I was taught." Her son frowned slightly. "By whom?" Anna looked up at the stars. "By your father." That night, sitting alone on the porch, Anna spoke into the quiet, as she had done for years, only now her voice was peaceful. "You prepared me," she whispered. "You taught me how to live." She understood then that love had never left her. It had changed form, becoming guidance, courage, and purpose. Elias lived in every decision she made, every value she passed on, every moment she chose to stand instead of fall. As the wind moved softly through Red Willow Creek, Anna rested her hands in her lap, content. Her story had begun with a marriage built on respect. It had grown into love. It had survived loss. And in the end, it became something greater than love, a legacy. "My husband taught me how to live," Anna said softly, "before he taught me how to let go." True love does not end at death. It becomes strength, and strength, when shared, becomes legacy.